Thanks for visiting the patient and the weather today. I'm meteorologist Al Peterlin. I'd like to talk about the weather health risk for December 11, 2025. We do have additional graphics at tpatw.com, and we do maintain a website, a storefront on Amazon, Patient Weather. And if you do your shopping through Patient Weather on Amazon, it does support Patient Weather. Thursday's weather map is interesting, and although high pressure dominates much of the south, we have a very interesting cold front, warm front, stretching all the way from Seattle across Idaho, all the way down into Omaha, where it's a low pressure center trying to build, and its warm front then extends all the way to the southeast through Nashville. And you'll notice that we have a lot of unsettled weather north of that front, with rain in the Pacific Northwest with that atmospheric river, and snow, lots of snow extending across the northern plains all the way down into some portions of the western Ohio Valley and portions of the lakes. And of course, we also have that snow band here across northern New England, actually from western Pennsylvania, and much of that is lake flow all the way up into Maine. Looking at our vitality index, which is a composite of all of those elements of changing weather that can impact human health, we have that new influx of atmospheric river and cold air trying to come down into Montana here in the northwest. We have a lot of unsettled weather and storminess up the plains, and it looks like a really massive area of weather change happening along the Gulf and all the way from a line from Alabama clear on up through Michigan and everywhere east, but really being quite extensive here in the middle Atlantic states stretching into southern New England. Looking at pressure change, and pressure change, of course, is one of those elements that really impacts a lot of individuals. We have rising pressure here in the Pacific Northwest across Washington State, northern Idaho, picking up large swaths of Montana. We also have massive rising pressure here in the east, from Louisiana north to Michigan and everywhere east, and looks like a touch of a change, but not as big a pressure change here in New England. However, in the heart of the Ohio Valley, very significant rising pressure. As we jump back to the plains, the storminess, the weather front, the low pressure trying to build over Omaha, we see that we have falling pressure from eastern New Mexico across Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, and up into the southern South Dakota, picking up portions of Idaho and Missouri. Temperature change, of course, into winter is always important, and we have a new massive outbreak of cold air trying to break down into Montana. And we have post-frontal cold air stretching all the way up the Appalachians and east, all the way from New England clear down to northern Georgia. You'll note that in the unsettled weather aspect of the plains, we have rising temperatures. And while that is an area with a low pressure, mostly headache, and asthma, and arthritis, we could pick up some migraine risk with that rise in temperature. Dew point temperature map just seems to support the temperature change, as the dew points rises very often in concert with the temperature. Vapor pressure, very much the same thing. As we move to POI, which is our proprietary look at how the availability of oxygen varies in the atmosphere, you'll note that we have a significant risk of migraine here in the Pacific Northwest, Washington State, northern Idaho, a touch down here in southwestern Oregon, and then a rather significant risk of migraine here in Montana. But the real risk of migraine, we call it the migraine east, all the way along the Gulf, including all of Florida. We end up going in a line from Louisiana across into Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, and up into Michigan, and swinging a little bit in southern Wisconsin, but then everywhere east, especially up the western edges of the Appalachians, and then right along the eastern seaboard. So I call it a migraine day for the eastern third of the country. Back to the central plains, where we have that storminess, we have a risk of asthma and arthritis from Texas eastern New Mexico and Wyoming and Colorado, all the way up to the Dakotas and picking up portions of Minnesota, Iowa, and Missouri. Thanks for visiting the patient and the weather today. You know, the weather is changing dramatically in this winter season. Again, give us and let us know if you hurt.